The Archetypal Tarot Podcast explores universal human patterns, called archetypes, by investigating the major arcana of the ancient tarot. We recognize these archetypes because they are present in our own life stories, myths, and culture. Each card represents a stage of the journey for understanding the greater story of our lives.
Hello, this is Cyndera Quackenbush back with the Archetypal Tarot Podcast, and we are very excited, even though Julianne is not here with her voice right now. She's behind the electronic curtain. We are very excited to have our first guest ever on our podcast. So we are inviting Stephanie Meghan here, who is all the way over in Oklahoma, and she is an archetypal hypnotherapist, and I am so excited to be discussing some things that we're passionate about, some things that we share about the tarot, and how she works with clients with the tarot. So please announce yourself over there, Stephanie.
Hi, Cyndera. How are you?
Hi. Doing really good. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
Great. How's the weather over there in Oklahoma in the fall?
Well, it just got chilly this morning, but it's kind of up and down. It can be cold some days and then really hot the other days.
It's like trying to make up its mind.
Yeah. I'm from the East Coast and West Coast, actually. So I'm new to the center of the country, so I'm just kind of still getting acclimated to the weather patterns here, but I love it here.
Oh, fantastic. I've never visited out there before, but maybe you'll give us a good excuse to come visit sometime. So welcome to the Archetypal Tarot Podcast. And you have an amazing, I just have to start with that. I haven't met you face-to-face, but I have seen your website, and it's just glorious. It's a really beautiful website.
Thank you.
And I'm pretty sure we'll have a link that people can easily click on. But what's the address of your website?
Yeah, everybody can go to soulshinetarot.com. That's soul, S-O-U-L, shine, S-H-I-N-E, tarot, T-A-R-O-T. That's all one word, .com. Yeah, and check it out. I designed it myself. I'm a big kind of graphic design geek, so I was kind of going all out with all that.
Wow, a woman of many talents. Amazing. And that is the name of your practice, Soulshine Tarot.
Correct.
And tell me a little bit about that name, or just the basic idea of how you approach tarot.
Yeah, sure. So I do see tarot a little bit differently than people see in the media. They get that idea that there's some weird superstitious, woo-woo kind of stuff that kind of goes with that. But they're just cards. I mean, they're not filled with any mystical magic, and there's nothing scary about them. It's just some pictures. That's all they are. And to me, the only magic that I see them create is actually in the mind of my client, of the person that's consulting the cards. So it's the thoughts and the images, it's the thoughts on the images of the cards that bring out what's going on in somebody's subconscious mind. And so it's really different for every person. There's different ideas, different thoughts will come up depending on that person's experience and their memories and their beliefs. So, that's what I'm doing in my practice is I try to dispel all the weirdness and superstition around the tarot by helping people use them for what they really are, which is just a collection of images that help you draw out your conscious and subconscious thoughts and beliefs for the purpose of personal development.
Oh, fantastic. I'm really interested in hearing more about how you do that, because a big goal of our podcast up to this point has been to dispel a lot of superstition and explore the cards in their symbolism and what they might mean for every person. Every card can at some point speak to some situation that you're in or feelings that you're experiencing.
Exactly.
That is such a wonderful and it feels like rare goal that you have with Soulshine Tarot. How did you begin reading tarot?
Let's see. It was a while ago. I'm going to say around 12 years ago. I don't remember exactly the year. I was in college, and I got my first tarot deck, and I didn't really know what to expect. I just kind of gotten into it, and I was just reading for myself, and occasionally my friends and family, whoever was interested in letting me kind of practice on them. And it quickly became weird, kind of how accurate it was, how it always was so spot on. And any avid tarot reader can tell you how the most relevant cards always manage to show up. I mean, no matter how long and hard you shuffle, the same cards will always manage to find their way out. But it's just been something that I've always kind of had in my back pocket, so to speak. Whenever I was going through some issue with my life, or I just had questions or wanted insights into something, I would just see what the cards had to say. What was my mind where was my mind gonna take me when I saw whatever images, whatever cards showed up when I would, spread the cards out. And again, it was always, the right cards happened or showed up at the right time. When I was going through hard times, particular cards would show up that would signify, transitions and change and hardship, but also hope, and vice versa. When things are going well and I wanted to see what was in store for me when this really good thing was happening, I would see happy cards, that really kind of affirmed that, I was on the right path. So I guess maybe to kind of talk about how Soulshine itself came about, it happened a few years ago when I was searching for a new life. I was in a big city. I was all alone. I was in a temporary job that I had. It was only going to be a year-long term, and I didn't have anywhere else to go afterwards. It was kind of coming to a close, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if I wanted to continue on the career path I was on. I mean, I loved the career path, but it wasn't really exciting for me, and I really wanted to be able to wake up excited every day. So the day came when I actually got the chance to interview for a job that I had been actually working for the past several years. There was this one job title at this one company that I really wanted to get. And so the opening actually became available at that time. I was so excited. I was like, wow, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I was going to school for and all that. But I felt like my heart was no longer in it, and that's kind of scary. We worked so hard for something, and it's like, oh no, it's not doing it for me anymore. But anyway, I interviewed and I didn't get the job. But actually, instead of being depressed, it was kind of like a relief. And I saw it as an opportunity. I can actually now go after my passion for personal development and subconscious cleansing and working with your subconscious mind. So, and while in the midst of all this, when I was, in this big city and working at this temporary job, I was studying personal development through meditation. So I immersed myself in all kinds of courses, and I really felt, in working with this, a real dramatic shift, like in my life, mentally and physically. I just felt different, and I felt more comfortable with myself. I began to open myself up to new experiences, the things I wanted in my life. I realized that subconsciously I was actually scared and unwilling to receive the things I wanted, just out of fear of past experiences. I didn't want to go through the pain and the heartache and the disappointment again. So after months of acknowledging and releasing these limiting beliefs that I had, these fears, things really began to show up, and I felt more control, whereas I felt like I was drifting from job to job, city to city, just waiting for something good to happen instead of actively, seeking it. And so within a matter of months after, doing this personal development work, I attracted, the man of my dreams. I finally have a beautiful permanent home I've been renting for years, and also the means to diagnose and heal myself from this nervous system disorder that I discovered I had for years. And of course, a business that I'm very passionate about. And so now I feel happy. I love my life, and I'm excited every morning to wake up, and life's been good.
Oh, wow. That is a real tarot success story.
Yeah.
And what an exciting thing it must be to be able to bring this to other people.
Yeah.
When you've experienced such a healing and passionate and opening experience from it, that must be really, really special.
Yeah.
And but before we get to how you work with clients, which I'm really excited to get there, but I'm just really fascinated by this educational background that you have. That's actually very scientific, and I believe it's in biology.
That's true. Yes.
Yes.
I'm a biologist, and I'm a botanist, actually, to be more specific. So yeah, I've received both my undergraduate and graduate degrees in that field. I did go to an Ivy League school, and I've been published in peer-reviewed journals. Yeah, so I'd say I'm a pretty hardcore scientist. You know, I've always been. I always loved science. It was one of the first things I ever learned was my mom will tell you all the colors of the spectrum in order, you know, from red to violet. I was like 3 years old, and I knew them all from memory in order as a set of rainbows. And the solar system, I loved astronomy, and I memorized all the planets in order from Mercury to Pluto when Pluto was a planet. So I love astronomy. So I'm super into science and everything that it can help it explain reality. That's what I'm really into. And so it may seem kind of strange. I'm also a very, very spiritual person. I'm fascinated by metaphysics and the tarot. But honestly, I really don't see much of a difference between those disciplines and things that science strives to uncover, which is, they're all trying to accomplish one thing. They're trying to explain reality, and that's what I love I love the mystery. I like the inconspicuous and not so well known. I like to dive deep into that sort of the unknown, the mysterious thing.
Oh, wow. So you'd say your scientific background mirrors your appreciation of mystery that the tarot also provides, but has it also helped with just staying grounded and not being wrapped up in the superstition of tarot? Has that been a helpful sort of perspective to come from?
Yeah, I like to, as much as I'm interested in the unknown, the unexplainable, I still want to be able to explain it in a way that makes logical, physical sense. I want it to obey the laws of physics. I want things to make sense. So I don't get too wrapped up in. I like the idea of the mystery of it all and how it's not really fully understood. Things are still a mystery out there. But I love that, with science and with metaphysics and other things, there's always something going on. Somebody's trying to explain. There have all these theories out there that try to explain how things work. And some of them are a little out there, and some of them are like, okay, I think I can grab onto that. So yeah, there's that happy medium. You kind of have to, be open-minded. So that's one thing that I like to be as a scientist, even though, science is, there are rules to science. The scientific method is a formula that, scientists have followed for centuries now. But what they're trying to do, what the scientific method is they're trying to dispel, what they're believing. That's the point of the scientific method. What you do is you have a theory out there and you say, okay, I believe that, the sky is blue because of, let's say, because God painted it blue. And, that's my theory. And in order to accept that theory, I'm going to have to prove it otherwise. And that's what the scientific method is. You have to try to prove every possible reason why something isn't. And then if by being able not to do that, you're going to have to accept, well, I guess that means that's why it is that way. So you're going to have to think of every reason and do every experiment you can possibly think of to try to prove why the sky is blue, not blue because God painted it that way. You're going to have to, I can't, there's no way I can say that that is the truth. So I guess I'm going to have to say, there's something else there that can explain it, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. And
yeah.
And so while you were studying science, you're studying botany in school, and at some point you came across a psychology class. Is that right?
That's true. Yes. Yes.
And we're speaking a lot here about, things we want things to make sense. They're not all woo-woo. They're not like out of the blue. So this phenomena that you encountered earlier, which is that, you could get cards that would completely speak to or match what you were experiencing. And that can be a very magical feeling, right? Did you discover anything in that psychology class or, applying the scientific method? How can we explain this?
Well, the psychology class really did get me into kind of where the jumping point from where I wanted to do tarot. I mean, I wanted to do tarot because I'm just fascinated by these pictures and imagery that they have on there. And I found that kind of melding the ideas that I learned in this psychology class that I took, it really helped to explain the tarot to anybody. I mean, it's not like somebody has to be into the occult or into the weird things to appreciate it. Anybody can, and that's where I kind of draw the ideas that I learned from this class. But in terms of what kind of, are you asking about like what kind of forces are at work in the selection of the cards?
Well, maybe I'm leading this question a bit. I'm wondering if they studied or brought up the phenomenon of projection at all in the class that you took, or have you studied that at all?
Well, I'm vaguely familiar with it. The class I took was, I wish I could remember the actual name of the course. It was very heavy in psychology, and basically it was a class that helped scientists understand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was for scientists, a sort of psychological class that helps people in the scientific world to understand other people. Because sometimes scientists get the reputation of not being a very personable person. They're kind of into themselves. They don't interact with too many people. They're stuck in their laboratories.
They kind of sound like techies.
In a way, yeah. So this class kind of helped understand how people work, how their minds work, and how we can learn to delegate tasks and understand how somebody's mind works completely different from yours, and you have to accept that and help move. So if you're like in a leadership position as a scientist, you're going to have to help your subordinates be in a happy state. They're going to have to be happy people. You're going to have to keep them motivated and keep them productive, and you're going to have to understand how their minds function in order to do that. And so that's kind of really what really caught my attention when I took this course. Like, wow, I love how you can just really understand how different people are, why they're different, and how that translates to their the way they see the world. And I think it's absolutely fascinating how everybody sees things differently. So if you look at the tarot cards, like right now I'm looking at, I have my deck out here. So I see the first card here is the High Priestess. And it's, just a woman in this robe, and she's, sitting on her throne, and she looks, very peaceful. But somebody might see that, and, maybe for some reason they had some experience that, made them fearful, or they just have this idea that, they're against everything that's related to, that has the word priest in it or something. And so they kind of shy away from it, and where somebody else could love this card and feel really drawn to it. So it's interesting to see how differently people react to the exact same objective image. It's a subjective thing. Like you were saying, people will, project whatever is going on in their subconscious mind, whatever thoughts or beliefs are sparked by this image is completely different for everybody.
Yeah, that is just an incredible phenomenon that I've noticed as well, and just how the way we perceive the world and are looking at the world around us, we're making it work for us, or we're using images around us to figure things out and to figure ourselves out. And so whatever's going on the inside that we can't see unconsciously, we can project it on images and things around, and unfortunately sometimes people too. Actually a lot of the time. And we're relating with this material that's within us as we interact with images and people outside of us. And the figures of the tarot are these wonderful receivers and personalities that we can dialogue with or interact with, and they're not going to be hurt or impacted like the way we project on our partners a lot of the time, and are waging our little wars with our own projections, right? So this is what a wonderful little sphere we have and opportunities we have with the personalities in the tarot. Did you pick the High Priestess randomly just now, or was it sort of there and you were drawing inspiration from it?
It's literally just right there. So I have the deck of the major arcana just sitting right next to me, and the one on top is the High Priestess.
Wow, boy, that this feels really special. That she's joined our interview here.
Yeah, she's staring at me and smiling.
You can't see me, but I am sitting very calmly with robes on and
as am I. Yes.
It's just so accurate, the tarot. It's amazing.
I know, it's amazing.
So I would love to turn now to talk about how you work with your clients, and how does your process work, and how do you use the spreads and use the tarot? What would it be like if say I were coming to see you right now, and what would we do?
Yeah. So let's see, where would I begin? So my sessions are actually at the moment virtual. So everything is done online and through email. So what a client actually receives from me is an audio that I actually will customize to them. So whatever they're consulting me about, I will design their session virtually for them and through a recording of me, and I will take them through the cards that I select for them based on whatever package they select. So they have let's see, there's a 1 card, 3 card, 5 card, 10 card, and 22 card, whole major arcana reading that people can actually choose whatever insights they want to get. They can choose from 1 to 22 cards.
Wow.
So it could be pretty a minor thing, just kind of see what's going on, or you can really go way into it and connect to all 22 cards.
Wow, that's amazing. So is the reading based off like the order of where the 22 fall in, or like how? I'm just really curious. Or do you take them through the journey of the tarot in order?
I do it. Yeah, I would do it in order. So from 0, the Fool, all the way to the world. Yeah, 21. So yeah, I'll take them in order, and I'll kind of integrate the idea of the hero's journey into that, and all the different characters you're going to meet along the way, and all the different roles you're going to play, things you're going to experience, all the ups and the downs, and the accomplishments and the setbacks, and the virtues and vices that you're going to experience, and you're going to have to accept and learn from these, and love them, and not shy away from them. And that's the point of these sessions that I do, is to help people connect to these cards, and to really kind of flesh out what it is that they're afraid of. So it's kind of based on the idea of these limiting beliefs. So it's all about these limiting beliefs that people have. So let's see, where did I begin? So a limiting belief, first of all, is a subconscious thought that counteracts your conscious desires. So if, for example, you want to be in a relationship, but you have this limiting belief that being in a relationship is painful, or all men or women are terrible people, then you're going to find it pretty hard to find and stay in a relationship. Your subconscious mind has programmed into your head that this is not a good thing. Don't do it. But consciously, you're like, yeah, I want to do it. So and because at least 95% of your conscious behavior is dictated by your subconscious thoughts and beliefs, your subconscious mind really is in the driver's seat, so to speak. It's taken hold of you. So whatever is going on subconsciously,
95%. Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is amazing. That explains a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, you have these neural pathways in your brain that actually, when something happens, when you see an event, or you have, something is happening, you're doing something, and it sparks this response, right, in your brain, and it triggers a specific memory or a specific feeling. It's all subconscious. You may completely forget that when you were 5 years old, you fell down the stairs, and so now, every time you walk down the stairs, you grab onto the handrail super tight. But you don't remember why. It's just kind of, it's behavior now. It's ingrained in you. And I mean, aside from physical laws and the rule of law, all other beliefs that you have are your choice to believe in and follow. You don't have to do anything. It's something that is so ingrained in you, something that either that was drilled into your head in school, or by your parents, or just by seeing your peers follow a certain path. You're like, oh, this must be how things are, and this is a fact. This is my belief. This is how things should be. But sometimes things can manifest in a negative or a limiting in nature, and so they can. So when they're in these kind of negative limiting beliefs are embedded in your subconscious mind, they can prevent you from, accomplishing your goals, from following through to really get to achieve your desires. And so that's the point of, these sessions that I do is to uncover these limiting beliefs through the use of tarot images. And so you can work through them and connect to these cards, release whatever limiting beliefs are hindering you, so you can move forward and get what you want.
And how do you find these limiting beliefs based off maybe minimal contact with the client beforehand? And do they come to you with a question, or how is it that you get to that level with them?
Yeah. So similar to a tarot reading, the client asks a question, or just tells me about a certain situation they have. So once they select whatever package they're interested in experiencing, they are taken to a form where they get to fill out what their question is. But I kind of tweaked it a little bit, and was kind of helping them lead with a question. So I don't answer, the necessarily typical questions of a tarot reader, like, oh, is my ex cheating on me, or will I ever find love? That kind of thing. So I help them. What I really want them to do is to ask a constructive question. So I want them to really understand what it is exactly they want. I want them to focus on things they actually have control over. So I have them actually complete a question. So I start the question off, and then I have them kind of fill in the blank. So the question that everybody asks, my clients will ask, is what, just so I can to ask the tarot to display cards related to whatever question they have. So the question is, what subconscious limiting beliefs are preventing me from blank? So instead of a client asking, why am I always arguing with my mother? It's not as nearly constructive as asking, what subconscious limiting beliefs are preventing me from having a positive relationship with my mother?
Wow, that's really powerful, because it puts the responsibility and the power back into the client's hands.
Exactly.
That they play a huge role, or their subconscious a huge role in dictating what's happening in their lives that's causing them some problems.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it takes that victim quality out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, feels very, very important.
So yeah, when they come to me with their questions, again, like you were saying, I want them to be empowered. That's the goal of these sessions. Is I want them to walk away feeling in control and empowered to actually break free from whatever subconscious beliefs are hindering them. Because people like you, that cliche, as long as you believe in it, you can do it. It's true. If you truly believe you can do something, you can do it. Just get rid of all the fears attached, and your subconscious mind kind of clean and clear. And consciously, you can go about it and feel, oh, this is a breeze. This is easy. This is not hard. This is fun. So whatever seedy little things are happening in their mind that's blocking them, I can help them through my hypnotherapy actually get rid of it.
Yeah. So let's hear a little more about that. So you use a special tool of meditation with your clients. Tell me more about how meditation and how you use it.
Yeah. So my method I call an archetypal hypnotherapy. So everybody listening to this podcast who has been listening, I'm sure knows what an archetype is. They're universal patterns of thought that we recognize and experience as humans, common themes in books and movies and all that. And the major arcana of the tarot is a wonderful tool that exemplifies a lot of these archetypes. So hypnotherapy, the method of hypnotherapy that I use, hypnotherapy itself is a therapeutic technique that uses the power of positive suggestions to change your thoughts and feelings and behaviors on a subconscious level. So it's essentially hypnosis, right? And the hypnosis itself comes from a mix of auditory stimulation, which is a specific background music that I choose for my sessions, along with these simple verbal cues that I will actually dictate as I guide you through these meditations. So I bring you into a very deep state of relaxation by systematically helping you relax your body and then your mind, and then using visualization tools, I help you connect to whatever tarot cards come up for you in the session.
And having listened to one of your sample meditations, I really liked how you make space for the client to meet the card and meet the image in the card and spend time with that before there's any going into the process that's And I really think that's where that unique, very unique projective experience can happen, is between that person and their very individual take on that image and character of the tarot.
I'm definitely not leading people to, interpret the card as, whatever the traditional interpretation of that card is. Like, the High Priestess means this. This is
right.
Bullet
You're not
points
back there reading a little pamphlet.
Exactly.
The tarot box. Now, High Priestess, let me see.
So when somebody, gets the reading, the session from me, they're going to also receive each of the cards in a PDF document, so they can actually have the image in front of them so they can look at it. And when they're listening to the session, they're, guided to look at the particular cards that the session's going to be taking them, into, and just kind of look at it. And what does it spark in your mind? What's going on in the picture? What is the person on the card doing? How does it make you feel? Just memorize it, look at it, all the different, little images, the objects and the colors, just everything, just kind of absorb it. And then once that's accomplished, I take them through the meditation to relax their body, from their head to their toes, just kind of relax and go into a nice deep relaxed state. And then I reintroduce the card to them in their mind. So I'll kind of describe the card again, just kind of jog their memory, and then they're guided to subconsciously enter into the image and connect in a special way to the cards, and release whatever uneasy, weird, scary feelings that come up that that may relate to whatever this card means. And I do, the only way I kind of will lead the person into this card is if it's kind of an ambiguous card and it doesn't really make sense, like I'm not sure what's going on. So I'll kind of say, well, this is the Judgment card, and it may look a little strange looking at, like, I'm not sure what's happening in this image. Then I'll just kind of explain, this is how judgment, or the idea of a rebirth, a calling, kind of relates to this image, and you're going to have to, kind of exemplify this image. What does it mean to you? Try to feel what it feels like. Recall a time in your life when you felt this before. So in that way, I do help guide them to connect to this card. So it's not too much of an ambiguous card. Like, I'm not really sure what's happening. So I help them in that respect to understand what's happening in this image. If it's sort of like, I'm not really sure what's going on.
So now that I'm starting to imagine hearing your meditations and seeing your PDFs, what sort of deck do you use, and or how much do you think it matters what deck you use?
Oh, that's a good question. So I actually chose a specific deck to work with for a particular reason. So the deck that I actually work with is the Connolly deck. And the Connolly deck is a little bit different from the traditional, Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I mean, it has the same kind of layout and everything, the same cards. But the main differences that I found are, and it's kind of like a more positive, upbeat deck. So it's not like, it doesn't have too many scary images that might like already scare people off. Because I want to make this kind of an easy, relaxed meditation for people to kind of get into. So if they are instantly taken to the image of the death card and they see this skeleton on a horse, then they're going to be like, I don't know, it's kind of creepy. So the Connolly deck is different in that it actually takes two of the cards that have kind of a negative connotation, which is the death card and the devil card, and it kind of turns it into a not so negative looking card. So for instance, the death card in the Connolly deck is called Transition. And the devil card is called Materialism. And so it's on the devil card, on the materialism card, instead of there being a devil that has these two people chained, as in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it actually just has a picture of a person who is chained to physical objects, but they're kind of floating in space. There's these clouds behind them, but there's gold and there's, you know, different materialistic things that are chaining them down. And that's just kind of the idea of what the devil represents, materialism and you know, being chained to the mundane world kind of thing. And for the death card being called Transition, it has a picture of a person who is emerging from this dark cave into this open, bright new world kind of thing. So it doesn't have that right off the bat, oh, this looks scary. I'm not sure. I don't like the name of the card called Death. That sounds weird to me. That's why I picked this deck is I don't want people to right off the bat be scared off by it. And I want them to kind of feel more at ease. And as I introduce them to each card, the point of each of the cards is to see both sides of whatever archetype. So there's a light side and there's a shadow side for each of these archetypes. And it's whatever shadow sides that come up in their session that it's what I'm wanting them to focus on. So whatever, you know, limiting beliefs are coming up for them related to whatever archetype is coming up for them is what they're focusing on during this meditation, because that's what they're trying to release and get rid of.
So are your readings draw from the major arcana? Do you just use the major arcana for your readings?
Yes, I use just
so you go for the big guys. You go for these are we're not going to mess around with those smaller archetypes. We're going for this is if someone's coming to you, it's going to be a big question, and these are the big faces, personalities, stages that can hold that energy and work through that energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. That's great.
I mean, the minor arcana definitely can help you kind of for each of the suits that they represent. You can kind of dissect everything into these finer little details, so to speak. You know, as you go from ace to 10, and then all the court cards that associate with them. So there's so many other aspects that you can use in the minor arcana, but it's going really, really, really deep. And I feel that the major arcana really focuses on the main points that are really, you know, that you can really connect to and really understand and kind of find the limiting beliefs that are associated with each of those really main energies that are kind of that are happening in your mind related to these cards.
So there's something else that I heard in your meditations, their sample online that was different and special to note, which was that you have music playing in the background.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very curious about that music, and because, you know, when I just by listening to the sample, I just was put into a very relaxed state, and I felt like I could definitely go very deep with that. And so you've mentioned that this is some very special music, right?
That's true. So yeah, there is a method to my madness here. So kind of stepping back. So there are 4 states of mind that people have. Your brainwaves can function at 4 different states. So the first of these states is the beta state, which is the one you're at right now. So you're wide awake and you're alert and you know what's going on. That's the beta stage. It's kind of every day you're awake and doing things. And then the next one after that is called the alpha state. And this is where you're in a daydream mode. You're awake, but you're very relaxed. You are creative, and you can use visualization. So you're daydreaming, right? And so the next level after that is the theta state. And this is what I use in my sessions. This is a level that I bring my clients into. And it's essentially you're at the threshold of sleep. You're not sleeping, but you're very deeply relaxed. You're highly intuitive. You can access your deep memories at this state. And this is also the ideal state where you can modify your behavioral patterns. You actually have the ability to redirect your neural pathways to change your conscious behaviors when you're at the theta level. And that's what this music does. It runs at a specific frequency, and it has a beat to it, this kind of rhythmic sound to it, and it's especially designed to help your brain waves synchronize to that state. So after you listen to it for a little while, and you will be listening to it during the meditation, before you actually go into it, you'll kind of have been listening to it for a little while. And so your brainwaves will actually begin to match this state of frequency, and you'll find yourself being able to relax more deeply than you could if there wasn't any noise happening in the background.
Wow.
But it's a very subtle thing that happens. It's a very relaxing thing. And then just to kind of continue, the fourth state is delta, which is actually when you're sleeping. But we're not actually going to get to that point. I mean, some people do say they will end up drifting off to sleep. It happens sometimes if they're really relaxed, but that's okay. That's fine. There's still a lot of healing that happens in the delta state. A lot of people, experience experience very deeply restorative sleep will receive a lot of health benefits from it. That's why we sleep. We're kind of helping ourselves fix ourselves from the damage that we've done along the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stick with the theta state.
This is extraordinary, and I think that clients would just really benefit from this, and our listeners who have gone through the journey of the 22 major arcana cards with us, and how they could have something individualized with you and to really address a very particular question with you, and from anywhere in the world, which we do have downloads from many different places for our podcast. So how cool is that? So I just wanted to wrap up our conversation for this podcast just with something that you and I connected about, and something that felt very exciting, which was that there's this sort of approach to the tarot is filling a hole that maybe even some people feel they can't fulfill with therapy. And so it's in some ways sort of an alternative form of therapy. How is it that you place the work that you do in regard to that?
Yeah, I love the idea of, seeing what I do, just as an alternative form of therapy, of counseling. I'm always going against the norm, the conventional, and I love, doing things by myself. I'm kind of a loner, and I like to, explore my own mind. Not necessarily have, spend a lot of money to fix myself. I'm kind of a do-it-yourselfer in that respect. But I think it's this, it's a really amazing method that can help anybody overcome their fears and limiting beliefs. Anybody can dive really deep into their subconscious mind on their own time, whenever they feel comfortable doing it. It's super easy to fit into their schedule, and it only takes like 20 minutes per session. But the tarot itself, I think, is so rich in imagery and really sparks the imagination. Just by looking at the cards, you can unlock all your thoughts, your memories that you've tucked down, deep into your mind. I kind of like to think of it as kind of like one of those Rorschach ink blot tests, right? I mean, the pictures and stuff are pretty objective, but the images and the effects that the images have on the mind are so subjective and so unique to the individual that it really allows somebody to connect to the cards on a really deep personal level. And so anybody can easily do this on their own. If they have their own deck, they could, just draw a card and see what comes up for them. But I help them through the hypnotherapy aspect of my practice to physically and mentally relax, so they can really open up to the deepest parts of their mind and really grab hold of these limiting beliefs. And through, again, my special sort of verbal cues, I help them to release them using these visualization methods that I have to get rid of these limiting beliefs. And what's amazing is because your mind is so powerful, more powerful than you think. I mean, we all heard of like the placebo effect. We all know how much power our mind has over matter, right? That we could so easily, as long as we're in the right state of mind, we can easily just remove these limiting beliefs. We can redirect these neural pathways to help us connect to a more positive and optimistic form of ourselves. So we're not bogged down by fears and these limiting beliefs that prevent us from accomplishing whatever we're wanting in our lives. And I think that's such an amazing tool to have. I mean, it's already inside us, and I'm just helping people unlock that out of themselves.
That is wonderful. And what brought you to reaching out to us at the Archetypal Tarot Podcast was a desire to connect with other people who thought this way and maybe work this way, because you hadn't really seen it before out there. There's a lot of traditional tarot, of course, but ways and methods people are using to approach tarot in a psychological fashion.
Exactly,
and so we're officially opening this up with this podcast. If there are other people out there that use the tarot in a similar way or are interested in using it this way, I would love to have more of community around this. It would just be really cool.
It would, yeah.
So
sure.
Please reach out and drop us a line if you are interested in this ongoing discussion of the scientific, non-superstitious, psychological unveiling and experience of the tarot. So as we begin to wrap up here, what can you offer some of our listeners out there in the world that from your practice of Soulshine Tarot?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I wanted to offer to all the listeners out there. The first is I want to invite everybody to experience a Soulshine Tarot session for free. And normally these sessions, the session that I'm giving away for free goes for $47, but I want everybody to experience this. I believe I want everybody to know what this is like at no cost to them. Before they invest any further in any future sessions with me, I want them to feel the power of one of these sessions. So if you go to, they'll have these links on the web page, I believe. But the link itself is soulshinettarot.com/free-hypnotherapy. And you can just sign up there and you'll be directed to a page where you will listen to a free session by me, so you can kind of see what it feels like to go through this. And the second thing I wanted to announce that is for a limited time, I'm going to be offering all of my sessions for 50% off. And so I wanted to give you the chance, to make positive changes in your life without, thinking of how much something is going to cost you. So I really wanted to make it available to as many people as I could. So if you go to soulshinetarot.com/special, you can get these sessions at this deep discount, but it's only going to be available for the next 5 days after this podcast airs. So whatever date that happens to be, so everybody can take a listen. And I'd like to hear any feedback from anybody that experiences this. I'm always wanting to hear the stories that people have when they experience these kind of sessions.
Well, that is so very generous of you, Stephanie, and I hope that many, many people get to enjoy this gift that you're bringing to the world with the tarot.
Yeah.
And
I also wanted to mention I'm on Facebook too. So if anybody wants to connect with me there, I'm all over Facebook.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
well, she's got the social media down. She's got it all.
Oh yeah.
Look at her.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Stephanie, I would like to just thank you so very much for joining Julianne and I for our Archetypal Tarot podcast. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Cyndera. I've had so much fun. This has been really great. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we invite you to become a part of the Archetypal Tarot team by becoming one of our patrons. Our patrons are awesome. So if you're interested, visit tiny.cc/tarot for more information and the awesome rewards for joining. That's tiny.cc/tarot. Hi there, this is Julianne. We hope you enjoyed this special edition of the Archetypal Tarot Podcast. You can find links, photos, and more information about Stephanie on our show page at archetypist.com/soulshine. And as always, we love hearing from you, so send us an email at atpodcast@archetypist.com. That's ARCHETYPIST.com. And we have another fascinating guest coming up for our next podcast, so stay tuned. And if you're enjoying what you hear, help share it with more people. We'd love for you to review us on iTunes or Stitcher, or tell your friends about us on Facebook or Twitter. We'd love that. Thanks so much. Until next time. Oh, and hey, like the music for our theme song? Well, it was performed and composed by the band Wildcat Apollo, and we think they're fabulous. So you should check them out. Thanks, Wildcat Apollo. We like your music. Thanks for sharing.